Welcome back. It's 2025, so this is the first video we've done this year. So Happy New Year if you've just tuned in. We had a bit of an extended break. It was a crazy busy Christmas, or sort of period leading up to Christmas. It always is. Record players, radios, all that sort of stuff going out for Christmas presents and restorations. But as I say, it's the new year. So what I've got to concentrate on is the CAPEHART. We're going to try and get that done over the next few weeks. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take the tuner section out, and I think that's going to be a bit of a nightmare because there's lots of nuts and bolts sort of hidden underneath. So let's go and have a look at that now. So this is what we're going to try and take out today. This bit's some sort of aerial suppression unit that's just dangling on one wire, so that's just been carefully rested in there. But you can see here we've got the same old crispy wiring situation here, but I just rub it in my hands and it's dust. So we're going to have to look into what these things do and what everything else is like, and this is just all gone. But as you say, we can see it's a really long, deep chassis. There's, I don't know how many valves on it. There's 4 stage. You've got, you know, it's a 4-gang tuner. So it's got a couple of RF stages. It's a really fancy thing. Another one, I think this is another one that's marked here as 25 cycles. So 115 volt, 25 cycles. 25 hertz. So it's got those really big chunky, I can see there's a whomping great big transformer on there as well. So we're going to have fun at looking into those. And right through here you can see, I don't think I'll be able to see, if I zoom in a bit, you might be able to see a bit more in there. So that's not very professional, but anyway, let's zoom up a bit more. On the back there you can see, this is where we've got the switches that are on the front of the actual unit and lights as well that tell you whether it's on the bedroom or lounge or wherever the various configurations were for the remote units that surround sort of throughout the house. We'll just take that back out again. Basically, down here you've got the little tiny valve here. These are quite cute. This is made in Canada, this one. But there's a good selection of mixtures of valves in there. Same old, big chunky electrolytic capacitors. I'm assuming these would be the old wet type. Can't really tell. Doesn't say on there. So underneath, if you get from underneath here, are some bolts that hold this all in. So what I'm going to do is get those out, and then hopefully we'll get this on the bench. Just before we get it on the bench, you can see this is the tuners here. If we go underneath, you've got all these wires that disappear off up inside here that go to the tuner, and that's a great big, so was it 4 or 5 screened, 1, 2, 3, 4 screened leads there. We've got all these here as well that are also going up to that, plus this one that goes up to the pickup up the top here. So I think the problem is one of the screws for the tuner, I think, is going to be behind this speaker. So, if I can get my hand in there. Oh, so no, that is loose, so I can get at that one. They've got quite a lot of these big, thick, that I've been calling these sort of umbilical type cords, these ones, that all live up and go through. Obviously, what I'm assuming is a big hole in the baseboard. So I'm going to crack on with that. It might take me a while, but if I'll bring you back if anything fancy happens. If not, the next time you see it, this will be on the bench. Right, so I brought you back in because I'm going to have to remove this loudspeaker first. They're in such good condition. There's no rips as far as I can see on on these cones. But as you can see, if I get in there deep enough, just here, all those wires I showed you earlier disappear up through a hole in the baseboard. The problem is it's very, very, very close to that beautiful loudspeaker, and I don't want to damage it. So what I'm going to do is this is an unknown quantity to me. It looks like it's going to weigh a ton. I'm pretty sure it will. So what I'm going to do is get some chocks of wood underneath here to take the weight as I undo these bolts, and then we'll withdraw the speaker. Right, there it is, the enormous loudspeaker, and I can safely say Yeah, it's the heaviest loudspeaker I've ever had to take out. It's an absolute lump. I've got this huge sort of cast iron shroud, aluminium, I don't know what it is, really, really heavy, whatever it is, but it's cast. But it's as you can see, speaker is in super condition, no rips, tears, a few cobwebs and a little bit of dust. But apart from that, nothing at all. This was a red label originally on some of the other ones I've seen. This one's been painted black. I don't quite know why. So perhaps it's been in for repair at some time in the future, in the past. Because I can just make out, and if you can make out if I go really close. Turn the light away actually. J. Barclay. So whether this was a customer's repair and it was owned by Mr. Barclay, maybe my customer now who I'm restoring this for will have a bit more information as to who Mr. Barclay was. But anyway, the speaker's out. I wasn't planning on taking it out today, but it's out. I can't damage it now, and I can get back inside the radiogram and hopefully get the tuner out. So there's obviously the hole where the speaker was, and it's made access up here so much easier. It was a bit tricky to get down initially because it's suspended on some really crappy old rubber mounting points that we'll have to come up with. They're like washers really, to sort of take some of the resonance or something out. I don't know, but it's they fixed. You can see these aren't fixed. They sort of wobble in little rubber bits. But we'll deal with that when it comes to putting it back in. And you can see the actual baffle itself is made out of chipboard. So nothing that fancy in there, but of course they are, I mean, really thick. I mean, it's much more than an inch, and I think some of this might be felt, actually chipboard with some felt covered stuff. So it's yeah, it's a beastie's thing. So let's get on with the tuner. So there it is, the actual sort of main brain and workings of the CAPEHART, which is the tuner unit, with this great snake of wires that's coming off here. One thing I did have, it's on the bench. I've not looked at it any more than you have on this camera. We can see we've got a nice sort of 4-stage, just stand up actually, a 4-stage tuner here for a tuner capacitor. So I'm assuming it's got a couple of stages of RF before we've got the normal sort of oscillators, etc. for the rest of it. IF cans here. There's a few bottles along here. Quite a lot of gears and etc. in here, because obviously this is remote control. So I think that's controlled from this little motor down here, which is, as you spin, I think it's going to very carefully and slowly spin and tune that. But I'm not 100% certain yet till I have a look, because the volume control is done somehow as well. But I think that's done with one of those little boxes we looked at before. So the thing I have noticed is as I took it out, I was slightly worried about these. I've been calling them these umbilical cords, but this would appear up here to be in perfect condition. So it might need tidying up. Fingers crossed this isn't going to be an issue. That was a bit of a worry, but that all looks really flexible. So it's good down the other end as well. So fingers crossed that won't need replacing, just tidying up. You can see the dial on the front there, clearly stating the remote control, which I assume lights up when the remote controls are being used. 4-band, so you've got what the Americans call broadcaster. We've got just a normal medium wave broadcasts here, long wave and a couple of shorts on there, with a magic eye at the top, hidden in there, which we can deal with, which is it's an Osram Y61 in there at the moment. They say there's that great big filter capacitor. And there's that enormous transformer I was mentioning about earlier on. You can see the size of it. It's so many laminations on there. Then again, because this is designed to run at 25 cycles. So I'm going to pause and we'll happily spin it over and look underneath. Right, so the underside is full of old waxy paper condensers, and you can see in here, so they need to get looked at. There's a little electrolytic stuffed up there too. Various transformers, choke, obviously it might be, I don't know till I look. It's obviously got its own power supply. There's a few more capacitors tucked away deep inside there, and some more coils, because you've got the oscillator coils and some RF coils for the front end. And who knows what else will be in here as well. There's a solenoid there, I noticed, that might be some sort of break-in, or I don't know what that's for. If I just zoom down in there, you might be able to see there's a great coil of wire, along with, you know, a big family of spiders that are long since passed on. But yeah, there's a sort of solenoid thing in there, so I don't know what that's going to be doing. Okay, so I just need to get on and start replacing some of these condensers. There's one of these great long Canom, I think they called, American resistors from various videos I've seen over the years. They're not the most reliable things, so we need to check that out, but that's all, looks like it's all part of the power supply. So there's a chunky electrolytic stuck across there. Right, so let me crack on. We'll have a good, just pull out a bit of a clean up, get rid of some of these cobwebs and dust and spiders. And I say, like before, you're not going to see me spending hours changing condensers. I'll get in there and get them done fairly quickly, and then we can concentrate on actually getting the sort of mechanics working. And you know, who knows, we might be able to get some sound out of it before too long. I just had a quick look at the tuning, because I wasn't sure how that worked. And that's what that solenoid is down there. You can just make out that solenoid there. That clunks the motor in and allows it to tune. Obviously, the manual tune on the front as well. But unfortunately, there is a little belt that is broken. You can see it looks like an old rubber band, but it's not. It's made like a little like canvas or something. We'll have to come up with something to make that work. The problem with that is not going to be easy to change. I think I'm going to have to take the whole of this front section off to get in there. So what I'm going to do, I've got the capacitors to sort out, but I need to get this tuning section going as well. So I think for the rest of the day, what I'm going to do is see if we can sort that tuning drive out. I had to take the whole front of the tuner unit off, and that was no mean feat. It held on with 4 machine screws and bolts and nuts and that sort of thing, but unfortunately you can see all these looms of cable are all coming up as well, so you've got to disconnect some of these bits which I've been labelling up. But I've got to the front section here, so behind here is where this old fabric belt was. So I'm going to have to come up with a plan for that. Obviously there's probably a modern equivalent, or we'll find some sort of belt that'll do the job. You don't want it to be going very often, because it is a complete pain in the backside to get to. So I think I'm going to take these screws out here, and I'm hoping that this section will come forward. But who knows? It's one of those, so there's no diagrams or anything for this. We are sort of, you know, making up as we go along half the time. I'm sure some of the guys in the States have seen these before, but over here in the UK it's super rare. So I've had a look, and what I need to get to is in behind here. As you can see, there's a solenoid and there's the drive. So I'm going to have to carefully, I think taking these 4 screws off and then carefully withdrawing that, hopefully will get me access to where that belt lives. Well, I had the old Singer sewing machine out to try and sort out that drive belt. I'm just going to try and make some out of some canvas bits I had, but it's just not going to be really practical. So, but what I have found is a neoprene drive belt, so that fits there really well for the tuning. Excuse me. So that's all working fine. You can see we've got the tuning drive spinning around there. But as I said, to get to this, I had to take all this off. So we can sort of see there's the motor. And we've got all the various switches here. There's a sensitivity control. Left, I'm assuming this is volume. It goes up and down, because that then I think alters the remote control. There's the switches. A couple of the light bulbs were fitted upside down. I don't quite know why that was. Perhaps the customer didn't like it being bright. But anyway, so they'll be put around the right way. And you can see that this has got the American styled, well, I say predominantly American. You don't very often see them here. Little bayonet style sockets, and someone shoved in some screw-in ones that don't fit very well. But luckily we've got a good supply of these, so we can get those in there and refitted. But yeah, this tuning drive is working well now, so I can put this front piece all back together, and then we can actually start getting on with the actual sort of restoration of the electronics. So the fronts, the front tuning drive is all back on. I was able to remove the big long umbilical loom, so I can work on that and tidy that up. And I've just taken the side. I was sort of concerned about how I was going to get inside to get these really deep capacitors, but actually the side comes off. So we've managed to take that up, minus a condenser that I just had to remove. But we can now get in here and we can see the layout now of the actual tuner itself. Obviously these are the coils here used for the tuning. A whole load of condensers, capacitors across the top there, and you can see here this is the because it's like a hi-fi unit. This has got, you know, high fidelity AM, but you can change the bandwidth of the IFs here. So as you can see, as I'm turning the knob on the front that's marked, you know, fidelity, is changing the pushing some bits up and down inside these coils here to change the sort of curve and the width of the actual IF. So that sort of improves the sound of the IF. As I said yesterday, we've got all these capacitors are really deep in here as well. There's quite a lot to do in here. And there's a couple of really hideous ones hidden right inside, behind all these coils I'm going to have to get to, because I can see that they're starting to get hot and leaky as it is. So now we've got the tuning drive sorted, so we're just going to get in here and start recapping now, and then, you know, we can hopefully get some power on it fairly soon. We've just got to sort out these dial bulbs as well, because this dial bulb wiring is pretty naff, so we'll deal with that. I thought they were switched, but it doesn't appear they're switched. It appears that they're all on full stop. So I don't know whether someone's done something with that. I don't know, but at the minute it's all just sort of hardwired straight, so they're all on permanently. But I need to look into what the switching does. Okay, let's crack on with some condensers. I'm just going along, as I say, just recapping the tuner section. But I've just noticed that some of these wires going in here, like this one here and these ones here, oh, this one's not so bad, but this one's crispy, and some coming out of the actual can as well are crispy. So there's some writing in here as well, as you can probably see, that all these letters have got R, B, W. I'm assuming that's white, red and black. These obviously been muddled up at some point. You've got the red and the black through different holes. So I'll have a double check that may take it off. Yeah, so I'm just going to double check, you know, this one. I'm going to take the IF can off, which is just above it. That great big lump there. So we'll take that out, and I think we're going to have to do a bit of internal wiring on the IFs as well. So I've got the IF can out, and you can see, you know, here's the can. It was quite simple to take out, and it's beautifully built. I mean, you can see these ceramic tuning capacitors here for the IFs. I mean, they're really, really nice, super quality. I mean, this machine is just top notch. But you may recall that I mentioned earlier in the video that this has that sort of variable IF for the high fidelity side, so you can change the bandwidth of the IF, the shape of the IF on this control here. And that's actually done on here, which is quite clever. You've got a spring. It's going to be a bit tricky to put back in the can, but we'll work out a way. This is the top coil, and what it does is, you can see here that these, let me move the light a bit better, that these are sprung, so they go up and down. So as that rod is being pushed up and down, it alters the distance between those two coils, and alters the shape of the tuning. So it's quite clever. So anyways, as I suspected, rubber wire here is all starting to go crunchy. So now we've got it out, we've got a couple we'll have to do, but we'll get that replaced with some modern cable, and we'll get it back in the receiver, and we'll carry on with the recap. So you can see what we were dealing with in the old IF can, all this crispy wiring, even some of the the cotton cover stuff has started to go crispy. Here she is, all rewired, ready to go back in the chassis. It's a bit of a pig because that spring that goes the full length of the can, so I had to come up with a little way of doing that, but we managed to do that, and it's all on there quite happily. So that alters the width of that coils, the characteristics of that IF can. I'm going to get it back in, and then we can start cracking on with the rest of the condensers. These are always fun when you come across these. You can see here this resistor, as I've just been going around replacing some of the capacitors, I'm checking some of the wiring and stuff. Around, which is all good, but this resistor has 1 resistor has
got very hot at some point and has broken in two. It'd have to be at the most awkward bloody place because it's behind this metal screen that's holding all this switchgear in. So I can't realistically take this out without a massive operation. So I'm going to have to very carefully find out, because at the other end soldered up in here somewhere. So we'll work it out. But it's always fun when you're trying to, you know, when you find things like that, it can suddenly put you back an hour as you're trying to work out how you're going to fit that one in there. Anyway, we'll work on that. You can see we've tidied up some of these other capacitors and things around here. They've all been fitted. These resistors are out of spec, so they'll go. There's a couple of other ones that down here that were out of spec as well, so they'll be replaced. But yeah, so we're going to have a bit of fun for a while now as we try and sort out this cracked resistor. It's obviously got very hot at some point, and it makes you wonder, this may be at one point what put this out of commission. So it's probably that one of these condensers that we've replaced was causing this to draw too much current, the valve to draw too much current, and this has just got to the point where it's given up the unequal struggle and burnt itself out. But okay, that'll be fun. We'll hopefully get that one sorted, and the electrolytics are on the way. So I've got, sorry, not electric. I'm not going to replace them with electrolytics. These will be modern high-grade audio caps going in here to replace some of these. The reason I'm using audio caps, don't get me wrong, this thing isn't a Quad 22. It's going to sound nice, but it's not, you know, I'm not fitting them for the point of view. I just want it to be reliable, and I don't really want to be coming under here again, especially for power supply faults. So this will be, the power supply is going to be pretty bulletproof on this, as it has been with the amplifiers as well. Okay, I'll crack on, and I'll bring you back if anything else exciting happens. Got the offender nut out on the bench, and it's properly cooked. I mean, it's impossible to read any of the values on it, but you can just make out that it's black on the end. It's got black and a silver tolerance. The other colours have long since burnt off, and I found that I know it is on the diagram, which is this little kiddie here, but it says on here 20 megohms, which is crazy high for the position it's in the circuit. But I thought, well, let's have a quick look around other things. And I've just noticed, if I take it back to the phone where I've been looking at some other bits, I think the guy who wrote this diagram was obviously a draftsman, but he wasn't necessarily anyone who knew anything about electronics, because you've got things like 500 megohm controls. So I think where he's writing M, he should have been writing K, because up here you see where he's got a megohm there, like 1 meg, he's written as 1 meg. So this has been written at 500 megohms, which is a volume, so it's half a meg, it's 500 k ohms, 500,000 ohms. So I'm going to work on the fact that this one should be 20k, not 20 megs. So we'll get that one back in, and then we can keep, say, cracking on with the wiring in here. Well, after several hours and a couple of burnt fingers, because some of those components are really deep inside the chassis, the tuner section is now recapped, and a load of resistors were changed in here. This is all the audio section, IF down the bottom and audio, so IF down here, and audio detection and output, etc. here, to go off to the main amplifiers via some controls on the front panel, because this has got separate outputs with treble and bass on this one to each of the amplifiers. You can see we've sorted out a lot of wiring as well as capacitors in here. There was a real mess going on down here, but that's been dealt with. The only thing I've got to scratch my head around now is these are the new smoothing capacitors. So there's nice big audio grade caps in there. It doesn't conform to the circuit diagram that we've got, the only one available. This is slightly different. Whether it's because it's for the 240 version, who knows, or just one of their modifications. From what I can work out, I mean, I think CAPEHART were continually modifying these and changing them. So the chances of me actually having one that marries up to the one basic, all it is a schematic, there's no positionings or anything like that. So anyway, so the only thing that has gone is this great big, I think they call them a canome, or they're great big sort of metal clad resistor thing that bolts to the side here. That had gone open circuit. Now sadly there's no data on it, and obviously the paperwork that I've got doesn't correspond. It shows us a resistor in there. One, you can't read the writing on it, it's too poorly printed, and secondly it's from what I can look at it's completely different, the way it's worked. So we're gonna have to do a little bit of working out. Once we get things powered up, we'll have to work out with a couple of sort of high powered
resistors and get that sorted out. But it shouldn't be too much of an issue. What we'll use is probably those little modern aluminium clad, because it needs to be sort of 20 watts easily, because I think one of these is like a bleed resistor that gets rid of some of the HT. Bit of a funny way of doing it, but anyway, so that's going to get really hot. So anyway, we'll find something to go in there. But apart from that, the tuner underneath is pretty much ready to go. The bench looks like someone slung a hand grenade on it, because there's little tiny bits of wire and stuff everywhere at the moment. So I think what I've got to do now is, just while I work out what I've got to do with those resistors, I'm going to have a really good clear down, because I can't see the bench. So the tuner is pretty much ready to go. We've recapped it. The new smoothing condensers are in, they're all fitted. We've just got a little bit of jiggery pokery to do with that great big resistor that was mounted in here. Obviously uses this to sort of sink some of the heat away. I'm going to be replacing it with these aluminium clad, these nice big chunky resistors. These are 25 watt. The original one states for 20, so these will eat that quite happily. As I said, the power supply in here doesn't correspond to the circuit data. The RF side of things seems fairly there or thereabouts, but the power supply is different. So the values on there I don't think are quite right, but I'm going to go with those to start, and then we can just start measuring off where the voltages need to be. Got a little bit of a clue, because as I said, on this data there are no voltages. It's given me component values, but it doesn't say anything about the voltages, what they should be and where they should be. But I'm working on the fact that all the capacitors that were fitted in the RS stage, they're all 200 volt DC. So we know it's going to be lower than 200 or there or thereabouts, lower than 200 VDC. I've got some of these aluminium clads just boshed together. We're just going to temporarily hook them in for now, just so I can test it, to make sure the power's getting where it needs to go before I order some quite sort of specialist, or let's say specialist, but high value aluminium clad stuff that we haven't got in stock here. So what I'm going to do is going to just click these in just temporarily, and then we'll bring some power on and see how we get on. Okay, so I temporarily tacked those resistors in, and I was going to push record on the camera and I completely forgot, but it was very short-lived, because it quickly showed that unfortunately the mains transformer on this one has gone the same way of the output transformer on the base amplifier, and there is a problem with the secondary winding. One is short and one is open. So we've got problems with that. They read okay together, but it's a bit tricky to explain. But anyway, one of the winders, it looks like, has welded itself to the other. So anyway, that needs to go off for a rewind. So I'm going to draw this particular episode to a close, because I know it's going to be quite a long one. The actual set itself is all ready to go in that respect. I did just do a couple of checks with the meter, and we're all good. There was no shorts or anywhere, so it's all good to go. We might obviously have problems with valves, etc., but I tested it with the valves out initially, and it was still drawing far too much current. So it should draw 90 watts with the valves in, and when we started to bring the power up, we were drawing 115 watts with nothing connected at all apart from the rectifier. So whip the rectifier out, and we're still drawing 114, it's about 110 watts. So yeah, unfortunately the transformer's got to go for a rewind, so I'll draw this one to a close. I hope you enjoyed seeing what we've done with the tuner. Obviously it will be back in another episode. I probably won't show me putting the transformer in. The next time you see this, it'll all be ready to go, and we'll hopefully have it with the bass and treble amps with the speakers connected, so you can actually hear it finally running. Anyway, if you've enjoyed it, give us a thumbs up and hit that like and subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the bell, because then you'll get to be notified when we get the next one of these up. As for now, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Fix up the screens, they're statically beamed. Granny's records keep a spinning. When the sun goes down, I tune the static sound. Old shows on the tube we know, takes me back years ago.